I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have to do roll call first.
Okay,
Chair Robards,
here.
Vice Chair Hayes is absent. Board Member Fitzgerald is absent. Board Member Clements.
Here.
Board Member Grant.
Here.
Board Member Cardenas is absent. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2026.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. I'd like to now open the public hearing. We don't have a public hearing, so there's no need to open it. Discussion items, the upcoming city initiative and projects, a staff presentation summarizing the upcoming city initiatives and projects.
Good evening, board members. Linda Louise, zoning administrator for the record. So in tonight's presentation, we will be presenting several city initiatives and projects the PZB can anticipate in the upcoming months. The purpose is to keep you informed, but it's also an opportunity for staff to get feedback on some of the redevelopment initiatives that are currently being programmed. So to kick things off, this is an overview of the initiatives and projects we'll be covering tonight. The first two are redevelopment initiatives, specifically the 10th Avenue Corridor, which is a mixed-use development district in the original section of the city, and the Lake Worth Urban Corridor, which is the city's main commercial corridor. These two corridors are key areas for revitalization and economic growth, and that's why they are being programmed. For more details, we will be providing it later in the presentation, but it's important to understand that as the city is being built out, there's a growing need to accommodate redevelopment on a larger, cohesive scale. And that's for land use efficiency and for the continued growth of the city. So next, we'll update you on the city's annexation projects. The red dots represent the current annexation projects that are currently being processed, and the yellow dot represents the future annexation initiatives. Annexing additional land from adjacent unincorporated areas of the county remains a top priority for the city in meeting the city's annexation goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comprehensive plan. And it also provides for better growth management as the city continues to grow. So it's necessary for the efficient provisions of services, infrastructure planning, and also for the expansion and coordination of land use patterns, which can be hindered by enclaves, which are these little pockets here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see along the edge of the city's boundaries. So starting off with the 10th Avenue Corridor redevelopment project, the corridor is an area consisting of small infill parcels north and south of 10th Avenue. The limits of the corridor is Haverhill Road to the east and the Lake Worth Drainage District E3 Canal to the west. The corridor is zoned MXD-OS, or a mixed-use development, original section, and it currently allows for a mix of commercial and residential uses to serve the immediate and surrounding area. This area is not intended for large-scale commercial uses. So the city has not seen a lot of redevelopment activity in years, so the intent is to adjust the regulations to revitalize and stimulate activity within the district. The vision for the 10th Avenue is a main street, which is a vibrant, walkable, mixed-use corridor consisting of residential and small-scale, non-residential commercial uses. As part of the programming, staff will need to reevaluate the uses as well as amending the comprehensive plan, as well as the city's zoning regulations to enable greater flexibility to attract redevelopment activity. The program will also focus and consider requirements and standards for enhanced design, such as establishing requirements for streetscape and building design, looking at creating an incentive program for additional building height. So this program would work by offering developers additional building height in return for benefits made to the public, reviewing parking requirements and exploring parking solutions such as off-site and on-street parking to help meet the minimum parking requirements of the city, and other transportation considerations for better linkages such as mass transit, multimodal solutions to safely and efficiently link people to the corridor and other areas of the city and beyond. So staff will be implementing the recommendations of the adopted Safe Streets for All Action Plan, or the SS4A, and we're also excited to inform you that the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council will be working with us in providing their expertise in urban design as well as we dive deeper into the programming of this project. So finally, staff will also be coordinating with the city's economic development director and exploring economic development incentives for ways to attract businesses and redevelopment activity within the area. So next we have the Lake Worth Urban Corridor. The corridor is the entire extent of Lake Worth within the city's limits. So the eastern limit is Military Trail, and the western limit is the parcel west of Suncrest Road, and it's also an overlay district. The area is already a redevelopment corridor. However, to accommodate growth within the built environment and to be more consistent with some of the land use trends in adjacent municipalities, staff is also looking to refresh the regulations. One of the considerations the project is looking at is allowing for residential use so that the Lake Worth Road can be a mixed-use corridor. Staff is also looking at concentrating new redevelopment at primary and secondary activity centers within the corridor, and the activity centers are defined as nodes at major intersections that identify the most intensive areas within the city. As part of the initiative, the program will focus on establishing standards and requirements similar to the 10th Avenue redevelopment project, including streetscape and building design, creating an incentive program for additional building height, identifying and implementing parking solutions, and the transportation considerations for better linkages. Again, staff will be working with the city's economic development director to find ways to attract businesses to the area, as well as working with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council with design solutions. Moving on to the annexation projects that are currently being processed, the first project is Boatman Landings, which is located at the southwest corner of Boatman Street and Nyack Lane. The parcel is 1.07 acres in size, and this is a privately initiated voluntary annexation application for a small residential project consisting of 7 townhouse units. In addition to the annexation application, current applications for a future land use map amendment and rezoning to change the land use from county medium density residential to city medium density residential, allowing up to 7 units per acre, has also been submitted. This project is scheduled to be heard next week by the DRC. And once it's been found technically sufficient, the PZB will be hearing and seeing this project. So hopefully it'll be very soon. Another concurrent project is Symphony Court. This site is located west of South Military Trail and south of the L14 Canal and consists of approximately 8.91 acres. Concurrent applications include the future land use map amendment and rezoning to change the land use and zoning from county to city was also submitted. No site plan is included with this application, nor is it required as part of the annexation, future land use, or rezoning applications. However, the request is to rezone the property to residential high, which allows up to 10 units per acre. The application is still in review, and once the review has been completed, it will be scheduled for a PZB meeting. Finally, we have the future annexation initiatives. The city is looking to incorporate parcels north of Lantana Road at Haverhill Road, totaling over 30 acres. The area has been identified in the city's future annexation area map, and it's also located within a primary activity center. Per the city's annexation policy and the comp plan priority, targeted areas for annexation area parcels are located within activity centers. So this is an area with a primary activity center, and therefore it is a targeted area for annexation. The properties within this general area are designated for non-residential use in unincorporated county, and when these parcels are annexed into the city, it will need a city land use as well as zoning designation. Typically, the land use designation and zoning designation would be consistent to the existing land use. Pursuing this annexation area would be consistent with the comprehensive plan for the city's annexation goals, and it would also help to add commercial uses to serve the south end of the city. So just to conclude staff's presentation, for the redevelopment initiative, staff will also be working with the city's economic development director to link the redevelopment initiatives to the city's economic development initiatives. Things that are currently in discussion with the economic development director, and he's present today, Philip Harris, Dr. Philip Harris, if there are any questions. So things that we are discussing right now includes an expedited process for redevelopment projects, the possibility of allowing business flex space that is currently under discussion and in its preliminary conception, as well as providing tax incentives to developers. And that concludes staff's presentation for tonight, and we look forward to presenting you with these wonderful and exciting projects in the near future. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I think you've done a wonderful job. As far as Treasure Coast Transportation, whatever that
Treasure
is,
Coast Regional Planning Council.
Regional Planning. I attended a couple of meetings that they gave about redoing certain roads. One of them was Sherwood Forest. And some of the other people that I know that went, they talked about, putting a traffic circle, blah, blah, blah. And so the question that I was told to ask tonight was, when is this going to start?
So there's a couple different initiatives happening as far as our transportation network system, some of which is an implementation of the Safe Streets for All.
Right.
As you know, with the report that came out of that. This particular roadway, actually with Sherwood Forest, is one that the county already had in their capital improvement project.
Right.
To actually improve that road. The city has been engaged with the county as far as discussions of the design of the road and trying to incorporate more of a multimodal aspect to it. So we actually had conversations recently where they're looking at the redesign, and they've asked and are actually seeking information about more about the right of way and being able to accommodate some of the components such as the roundabout that you had mentioned. So it's proceeding. I don't know an exact time frame as far as what they're looking at, and they're in the design phase of it, relooking at it and redesigning it to accommodate
I'm glad that they thought it over, because initially they were going to widen it by taking out all those beautiful trees. And let me tell you, there was going to be a big protest if that had happened.
Yeah.
That was number one. And right now I'm not thinking about what 2 and 3 are. Oh, yes. The bicycle lanes that they've created on, I believe it's Lake Worth, with the concrete
slab.
What do they call those?
Slabs.
Yeah, the
the
concrete
separated
slabs
bike
on the side.
lane.
When they're redoing the Lake Worth corridor, is that something they're going to be putting in? 'Cause
Yes,
those
they're
are-
looking at those concepts
Yeah.
also to provide for, again, the multimodal approach to the
Right.
redesign with the road. So that is something in the future you will actually see more detail on.
Okay, 'cause,
as they start.
I mean, those
plan for
have
the
great
west.
benefit, but they're also really tough to negotiate in traffic. I'm sure there are pluses and minuses for them. Any other?
Yeah, I have some questions. Oh, again, thank you for the presentation. What kind of time frame are we talking about implementing a plan like this? How many years out are we talking?
For implementation, I mean, we're still in the programming process, and that does take time to finalize. I mean, there's a lot of data and analysis that goes into a redevelopment plan at this, for what we envision. We have to make sure that whatever we are going to implement as zoning regulations will be feasible, and that does require extensive research. So we are hoping to bring this, at least one of the redevelopment projects, if not both, later this year.
Yeah, and then just to add on, it's kind of, in a sense, it's a continuation of the implementation of the things you saw with the comprehensive plan. So, I mean, some of the rewrites that you've seen actually before you is almost setting the framework for us to be now touching the districts where, recently we actually updated the parking regulations. We also provided specific outdoor lighting regulations and how that, also entails with the building design and the overall process. So it's kind of in a sense of a phased approach, because the other things that we'll look at is also the impact fees and how this ties into the parks master plan that will be going forward to council later on, early summer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And another question I had was, it sounded like you said there was going to be like mixed use, so a lot of commercial and then I guess residential.
The Lake Worth corridor.
Yeah, the Lake Worth corridor. So it's like residential upstairs, business downstairs, that kind of thing.
That is one of the elements that we are looking at. We would love the corridor to be a mixed-use district. So one of the uses that we're proposing to allow is residential, and it would be ideally integrated,
Multi-floor.
both
Yeah.
residential and non-residential uses.
Okay.
And it's, targeted in the sense of right now, the activity center, kind of like on the slide that Linda had with the Lantana and Haverhill example, but those activity centers, how they relate, like the primary ones being Lake Worth Road and Jog
Mhm.
Road, Military and Lake Worth, and then somewhat, there's secondary activity centers throughout it, but those would be where, you're looking at the targets of that mixed use in
Right.
that sense.
Okay.
And really, the context of how those relate to the intersections too, versus just a, specific distance. Because right now, I think our code says a quarter mile, but there is some relation to how that relates to the intersection too.
Okay. And then I think my last question is, I know we have the doctor over there. What kind of businesses are we trying to attract to something like this?
It was the plug. It needed to be jiggled.
Good evening. Good evening. Philip Harris, serve as the Economic Development Director for the City of Green Acres. For the record, thank you for the opportunity to present and have an opportunity to answer any further questions that you have. So when it comes down to the types of businesses that we're attracting, it's across the gamut. We've had numerous conversations with companies that are in the healthcare industry. We've had conversations with those in the financial industry, education. We also have talked in the hospitality space too as well. There's been conversations with their representative real estate brokers related to the type of opportunities and space that they're looking for. And some of this based upon our relationships and conversations we've had with the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County. We realized that some of our large corporations no longer are needing, 60 to 100,000 square feet. They can go down as small as 20 to 30,000 square feet. And no longer do they have to necessarily look at Boca and West Palm Beach and all these other areas across Palm Beach County. So with the strategy that we have, looking in City of Green Acres as one of those recruitment strategies, we've been having numerous conversations with those individuals. With that being said, it's been part of conversations that we've been having with numerous developers, right? Because some of those developers, if we're looking at mixed use development, we're looking at the opportunity where you can bring in an anchor tenant who is a corporation where you have that, corporate office downstairs and then you have that residential upstairs. So there's a numerous different models and concepts that we've been having this far.
Very good. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, I got a question. On the annexation on the property on Military Trail down close to Lantana Road, is that box, will that box that in where we get the centerpiece too?
I was just gonna ask that.
So that's one where we have been working with that, trying to reach out to the property owner just to make it as, clean the boundaries up as much as
Right.
possible, because they also own other properties within the city. We're continuing to reach out to them, just to see, but if they don't reach back out to us in a timely fashion, we would still proceed and look at that later on, because it's a unique situation with the residences there. They would have to voluntarily request
You
it,
have three
similar to
corners-
this
you have
property
three
owner.
corners of it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're required.
Correct. But then the counties actually came back to us because this one is already kind of considered where we're lessening an existing enclave. We're not creating a new one because there's weird irregular boundaries over there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions on the presentation?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You made that very clear.
So I just wanted to add, so over the course of the summer, you're going to be seeing some of this stuff come to you. And then, like Linda indicated, continuing on even through, the remainder of this year. Some of the other things that we're looking at is the concept of business flex space. We've had some inquiries into that use. It's something that we're looking at, small scale where you actually have your business and then you have an accessory or ancillary kind of warehouse attached to it to support and house your products for the retail space that will be in front. So we're looking at that as well. And we've been drafting actually, starting to do our rough drafting of some of the regulations regarding this. So we wanted to give this opportunity to kind of lay out the things you're going to be seeing. We will bring them to you in more detail, and they will be with specificity in terms of zoning text amendments and the comp plan amendments that Linda had referenced earlier. So you'll start to see not only the projects that are being processed from the private side, those applications that we've received, but also the city-initiated projects.
I really want to thank you for putting this meeting together, and I apologize that more of us didn't come. A couple comments. Only having lived in Florida for 30 years, it's always surprising for me that cities are not contiguous, that up north you have City A and right next to it is City B. Here you have unincorporated areas, and that's a concept that's hard for me to grasp. And I know that that's an issue with the area besides City Hall and some other issues. I just want to say that. Also, it's nice to see on Jog Road the medical complex that's coming in front of it. It's coming along beautifully, looks nice. It's contiguous with the other structure behind it. And, you guys are to be commended in making them build it appropriately.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, we're excited to see some of those projects that have been in the pipeline for a while come to fruition
right.
and actually see it in serving, the needs that we have in the city.
There are other projects that, it's just a quick question. What's with Hoffman's Chocolate?
Yeah, we actually haven't heard anything about the building. Have you, Phil, anything in particular? Or there's been some inquiries. Our office hasn't actually received much in the way of that.
Again, so that's one of our, Hoffman's Chocolates is one of our targeted properties in real estate that we've been truly trying to engage the owner. With that being said, we received numerous requests that have come from more sit-down dining restaurants who have expressed interest in the space. We've also had some other interests who have been actually looking at it for just redevelopment, for if they wanted to do housing or something of that nature. But we received numerous requests from individuals if they're interested in more of leasing or if they're actually interested in purchasing the property. So I put out a couple requests out there, and hopefully, we can get some movement happening soon.
That's a beautiful property
Yes.
and quite big. So, thank you. Would be good to see it bringing in taxes. So, Are there any other issues? If that's not it, thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I gotta make a motion to